Yep. Yes, let's roll. Okay, replay on this.
The old man cried. Roots of Australian rock and roll television, and clearly one of the ABC's early attacks on the social fabric of this country. They might even get a reaction from somewhere. Some amazing faces there, even some amazing, not so amazing voices from the original Bandstand family, but also included the likes of Cole Joy, Brian Davies, Sandy Scott and Little Patty. Well, another member of that original Bandstand family is our guest on the couch, but before you meet the 2003 version, here he is the way a lot of Australians would remember it.
No need to worry, no need to worry.
So the best thing on television.
What I gotta do is turn down the lights and no need to worry about the weather, the snow, the clouds. All I gotta do is turn down the lights and
Lonnie Lee, welcome.
Oh, you really think so? I move a little more. I'm a little more animated.
That was considered pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, yes, quite amazing. Like in my head, I was thinking I was moving.
Yeah.
And of course, just a little hand going.
You've got to be bloody control yourself.
I know, exactly.
We talked about in that piece which we watched together, and it was very nostalgic.
Oh, fun stuff. Great.
Those two programs, Bandstand and 6 O'Clock Rock, were so different, weren't they?
Yes.
And we got the categorisation right. That
No, you did.
Bandstand was very family, and JOK and 6 O'Clock Rock was the wild side.
Yeah, so 6 o'clock I was more like on the edge. You know, you went there, and just like Pee Wee had said before, you really didn't know what was going to happen. You know, and we'd rehearse it in the afternoon. Well, about 10 o'clock in the morning, I think we'd have a rehearsal in the ABC, the old church, and then off to the pub. That's right, then off to the pub, and then we'd back down to ABC. I guess around about maybe 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we'd run through it once. 6 o'clock came, boom, ready or not, on the way, there you are. And that's why Jock forgot half the words half the time. You know, and who's this? What song am I singing? Only because there was so much happening. Whereas Bandstand, on the other hand, it would, in many cases, you'd record the music on the Wednesday. The Saturday you'd go do the show, and you'd be miming. So you weren't singing live. Right. So even if you didn't know the words, as long as you faked it. Okay.
I'm old enough for this stuff. I thought you were
Oh, sorry, George. Oh, shattered your dreams. Oh dear, but both of the shows was good. I mean, I enjoyed doing both shows. I think everyone that...
Did you have to change your demeanour or your dress or your style?
No,
if you went from one to the other? Or
no.
Bit of mythology, I think.
Yes.
They all look pretty great.
Well, it was. I mean, looking at it from here, it was. But the edge was there then, in those days. Even I knew it. But I mean, look at me. Look how staid I was then. That's 6 o'clock rock. That's the wild one.
Dark suit.
So the dark suit. That's right. Now, when I went to Bandstand, I didn't change at all. It was just me. I really didn't have to. If I threw myself all over the place, which I'd get away with on 6 o'clock rock, I would have to clean myself up in Bandstand. But that's what
JOK was the wild aspect.
Yes.
Of 6 o'clock
Yeah.
rock, wasn't
He was pretty much it. I mean, the songs were wild. Maybe that would be a difference also. We were allowed to sing songs that had a little bit more oomph in them, a little bit songs that were a bit more edgy, you know. But as far as
edgy.
well,
stuff. I mean, can you imagine? Well, compare that, let's say, for argument's sake, from a historical perspective, that stuff to Eminem. I mean,
yeah, well, I suppose, yeah.
What was edgy? What was it?
Well,
you say the word love before the word love was.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even so much the words; it was the song itself. You know, if maybe there'd be some raspy stuff, or if you did like Tutti Frutti, for example, or Blue Suede Shoes, or any of those.
I often wonder whether Tutti Frutti had a...
No, over there it didn't, because we were the only ones that had the...
something that I missed.
No, sorry, no, you didn't miss anything at all. In fact, the Americans had come out sometimes, some of the, doing the stadium, the American stars that we performed with, and different guys would say to them, well, you know what that means and all that, and they would say, no, what it is, and they were quite shocked, because they didn't know the whole meaning.
Our friend from the Deltones, Pee-wee, of course, you had to forget Pee-wee. Pee-wee did say that nobody realised, you guys didn't realise the power of television in those days. Because that's what made it.
Yes.
The fact that television was the difference. Otherwise, you would have been doing 20 or 30 people.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, I started off in '57. I had my little band, and I kept going. Now, it wasn't until 1959 that I did TV.
But you started the same, almost the same time as that.
Exactly the same as TV. In fact, my first TV show was Sydney Tonight, which was, I think, one of the first TV shows in Australia, just going on performing. But nothing really happened. Just like I said, you can continue going on and doing 30 people, 50 people, 100 people. But as soon as one hit TVs, from that my first TV show, things really changed. Within a month, I was recording. Within about 6 weeks, I was performing at the stadium with to 10,000 people, and it just went on and on and on.
It's possible to argue that the people like yourself would have disappeared into oblivion.
Oh, true.
Without those sort of programs.
Oh, I would say absolutely for sure. Now, in my case, I was performing way before TV, like on AFP Plus as well, and a couple of the others. But many of them, they actually started singing because of 6 o'clock rock. And so they didn't have a long lead up. But as soon as they did go on TV, things changed and they did become stars.
So we're doing you this favour actually by talking about you in the past, because you're still performing, you haven't stopped performing.
No, I went to America. I guess from an Australian point of view, a lot of people would think that, where's he gone? But in '66 I went to England and Europe, so I performed there for a while. Then I went from there to back to Australia, went to America in '71, and I stayed there pretty much all the time. I came back a couple of times, but pretty much all the time until about 1984.
Right.
So
the Lee Men, the band, they still exist.
Yeah, they still exist. Different guys, but the Lee Men itself was, unfortunately, 2 of the actual Lee Men have passed on now. But I still have Lee Men going now. We still do the same songs. We still perform to the big arenas. And
no plans to pull out?
Oh no. No, well, see, I got into it because I loved it. I didn't get into it to be successful, because successful to me was being on a stage singing. That was success.
You didn't want to be a star. You wanted to make a living doing it.
No, I didn't think it was possible to be a star. To me, somehow I didn't think of anything being a star. It was just I was singing and then performing, yeah. And then more jobs came, and then now I was on TV, and now I had a record. It was just something else. Extensions being a singer, and even now it's much the same. That's why I wouldn't give up. Because I'm doing what I love to do.
Terrific. And you look fit, that's the key.
Thank you, George.
Well, by the 60s and early 70s, rock music was literally all over our television sets, as we've just been saying. Here on the ABC, we now had something called Hit Set.
Well, he spent many years in Nashville, Tennessee, writing with Roy Orbison at the height of his fame. Lonnie Lee had 8 national #1 hits. This true Aussie music legend is still making him dance in the aisles, and he'll be performing in Perth at the end of this month. Check out his website for details. But he's with us this morning. This is his latest single, Lonnie Lee with Can't You See It in My Eyes.
You ask me, did my lover hurt me? Can't you tell by the tears in my eyes? Can't you hear it in the way that my voice shakes? Can't you see it in my eyes? Can't you see it in my eyes? You ask me, do I still remember how she held me in her arms when the night was so right and stars were shining bright? Can't you see it in my eyes? Can't you see it in my eyes? Her kiss set a flame in my heart. Her love brought a feeling so sublime. And while I stood in this heavenly glow, she turned away and let me go. And still you ask me, do I love her? After all that's said and done, she's still the one. Can't you hear it in the way that my voice shakes? Can't you see it in my eyes? Her kiss set a flame in my heart. Her love gonna feel so sublime. And while I stood in this heavenly glow, she turned away and let me go. And still you ask me, do I love her? After all that's said and done, she's still the one. Can you hear it in the way that my voice shakes? Can't you see it in my eyes? Can't you hear it in my voice? Can't you see it in my eyes?
Oh, Lonnie, well done. Fantastic. What a wonderful Aussie. Go, Lonnie. Fantastic rock and roll from that time right up until now. It's good to see that. Okay, on mornings we move on. And I tell you, you cannot start a rock and roll show with some of the good old-fashioned stuff. And to kick it off, we want to welcome a terrific guy. He had more hits in the 50s and 60s than anyone. Ladies and gentlemen, live on mornings, Lonnie Lee and the Lehmans.
Everybody keeps on saying, what's the matter with me? Everybody keeps on saying, what's the matter with me? Ain't it so, ain't it so? I'm in love with you. Everybody keeps on saying, you don't treat me right. Everybody keeps on saying, you don't treat me right. Ain't it so, ain't it so? I'm in love with you. Starlight, star bright, shine down on me. Bring back my baby back home to me. First star I see in the heavens tonight. Bring back my baby to hold me tight. Well, I know this way that goes hand in hand, way down on his knees, but I'll keep waiting until the day. Come back to me, starlight, star bright. Won't you hear my plea? Bring back my baby back home to me. I found a new love. She is a true love. I found a new love to last me all of my life. I had an old love. She was a cold love. But I found a new love to last me all of my life. No more blues, no more fear, no more loneliness, no more tears. I found a new love. She is a true love. I found a new love to last me all of She is a true love. I found a new love to last me all of my last, me all of my last, me all of my last. Well, do I need your tender kiss? Yes, indeed I do. Do I realize what I miss? Yes, indeed I do. Well, now do I cry? Yeah, yeah, till I'm crying. Yeah, yeah, over you. Yes, indeed I do. Would I trade? Yeah, yeah, all I've made. Yeah, yeah, just to have one more night with you. Oh, yes, indeed I do. Yes, indeed I do. Come on. Yes, indeed I do. Woo. Yes, indeed I do.
Oh, yeah, Lonnie Lee and the Lehmans.
Hello!
It's fantastic to see you
Glad to meet
again.
you.
And great rock and roll dancers. Were they good or what? Well, Lonnie, you and I are coming back for a bit of a chat with the boys from rock and roll, later the girls from rock and roll, but also some fabulous, hippest cars of the era. Stay with us on Mornings. Oh, thank you. Welcome back to Mornings, live from Rudy Hill, RSL. Come on down and join us. I'll tell you what Rudy Hill means very shortly. But you know, it really is considered the original rock and roll era, the golden age between, I think it's 1958 and 64. Shows like Bandstand, 6 O'Clock Rock, really ruled the television airways, and my next guests were the biggest names of the time. First up, we're going to meet some of the boys, then some of the girls, but you've already met him. Ladies and gentlemen, Lonnie Lee.
Hello.
Great to see you, Lonnie.
Thank you. Great to be here, especially as you said, in really the heart of rock and roll, Sydney rock and roll.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the television era, as I mentioned. 6 O'Clock Rock, Bandstand, that was the staple diet. Everybody watched it.
Wonderful.
What was the difference between the two shows?
Okay, well, 6 O'Clock Rock was a live show. It was like what we're doing today. We've got a live audience and we're doing it straight to air, warts and all, whatever happens, doesn't matter, everyone's going to see it. So 6 O'Clock Rock was just like that. Whereas Bandstand was, there was a rehearsal, you'd had a rehearsal on maybe the Wednesday night, you'd recorded, and then on Saturday, you'd mime it. So you'd already sung it before and you'd be miming it, you know, so the words would be, if you didn't know the words, if you were reading the words when you recorded it, and Saturday you forgot the words, that's why you'd see all the fumbling, you know. But,
A little bit of fluffing. Now,
yeah.
you know, clearly black and white in those days, but I mean, you know, it was a terrific time.
Oh,
this is
wonderful.
where we created some fantastic
Oh,
music.
yes, absolutely. The era was, you know, everything's exciting today, I guess, because we have all the push buttons and the computers and all the gadgets and all that. But back then, everything was raw and it was a first time. And of course, when we stop to think about it, the rock and roll that we take for granted so much now, it was brand new. Prior to that, as you know, there was really the 50s, you know, everything was easy and soft, and all of a sudden, bang, comes rock and roll. So we were all pumped up.
And in terms of Australian rock and roll, Johnny O'Keefe
Yes.
and your era,
Yeah.
you worked with Johnny O'Keefe. In fact, with his show, because he hosted 6 O'Clock
6 O'Clock
Rock,
Rock.
he occasionally, like all of us in television, had a few lapses of memory. Have a look at this.
We have a gentleman on the program that appeared with us once before to sing a song called, what is the name of the song? Only Love Me. Only Love Me. Let's welcome a cat who needs no introduction to the thing. We'll tell you a little more about him later.
I love that.
Oh, you know that guy, isn't it?
I love
isn't it
that.
incredible? You know, a guy called me because that was on, I think, One Way to the Top. They played that little clip again, and a guy called me and sent me a CD that was the guy eventually came on and sang it and sent me a CD, and he said, I'm still around, even though Johnny O'Keefe forgot me, I'm still around.
Oh, that was hysterical.
I know.
Now, we want to introduce some more of the main men of that rock and roll
Great.
era.
Come on, everybody, it's 6 o'clock. Come on, everybody, it's time to rock. Will it stop? Let's rock. Come on, everybody, it's 6 o'clock. Well, everybody knows just what to do. Turn your attention to
for coming. But we're finishing with Lonnie Lee and the band. Y'all have a good time. Great weekend. See you Monday. Woo! Yay! Yeah!
Come along, baby, a whole lot of shaking going on. Come along, baby, a whole lot of shaking going on. We thinking, a whole lot of shaking going on. Come along, baby, we got chicken in the barn. Come along, baby, really got the bull by the horn. We thinking, a whole lot of shaking going on.
Well, the 1950s was a golden period in music. It was known as the Rockabilly era, and it was brought to life by the smooth vocals of Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash's deep ballads.
Me on your side, you give me cause for love that I can't hide. For you, I know I'd even try to turn the tide, because you're mine. I walk the line.
And Australia's answer to the rockabilly movement came in the form of Lonnie Lee. The smooth-sounding artist produced a string of hits, including Ain't It So and I Found a New Love. And 60 years later, Lonnie Lee is still rocking his way around Australia. We're very lucky he joins us live at the desk today. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
60 years, it's a
Long
pretty
time.
long time to be doing it. What keeps you going?
I guess my love of it, the passion of singing. I still love singing, and that's what started me in the first place to do it. So I like that, and I still love the songs. That era is sort of embedded in me, so I still love all those easy listening songs and whatever. Yeah, just good. I'll never stop.
That's good. You can't stop. Everyone's got to keep going. It's awesome, Lonnie, because you got to, you play great music, mate. So there's lots of fans for you. You broke into the music scene in the 50s. Elvis and Johnny Cash, as we saw, were really hitting their straps in the top charts. What was the rockabilly era like?
Well, it was very new. It was very different. For us, we were just doing things that we loved. I guess just prior to the rockabilly era, there was a very, very smooth 50s era. So everything was the crooners. And then when rockabilly came in, which was just country sort of hepped up a little bit, it got to us because we were all young. We were just all teenagers ourselves. So that was all very, very exciting. And not only us as singers, it was new, but it was new to the audiences. And all the girls would go crazy and the guys. And it was just like the Beatles or the Elvis thing. It happened out here, the same thing. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't walk down George Street or Martin Place without being chased and girls writing with lipstick all over our cars and everything. We love you and all that stuff.
Good times.
It was,
very good times by the sound of it. You wrote for also some pretty big stars as well, including Roy Orbison. How did that come about?
Well, I was in Nashville. I went to Nashville in 1971, and I eventually lived there for about 9 years. And during that time, I was there as a songwriter. So I went to one of the publishing houses, Acuff Rose, which is one of the biggest publishing houses there. And the guy listened to my songs, and he said, "Oh, wow!" He said, "I can hear millions of dollars in your songs and gold." So
sounds good.
This is what a songwriter wants to hear, right? Anyway, I said, "Oh, that's fantastic." But he said, "I think the quickest way for it is maybe if we put you with somebody, a big international act, because you write international music." So I said, okay. He said, "Have you written with people before?" And I said, "No, never, just me." So he said, "Would you think about it?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I'll call you tomorrow and let me know." So anyway, he called me tomorrow and he said, "Would you like to write with Roy Orbison?" And I said, "Oh, you're joking." And he said, no, I'm serious. So that afternoon we got together and we spent about 10 hours getting to know each other personally, and found our chemistry was really, really fine. We had a lot in common, and so we spent the next maybe 2.5 years writing and doing lots of stuff together. I was his personal assistant there for some time as well.
Fantastic. While you were also in America, you lived next door to Johnny Cash. What was Johnny like?
Yeah. Oh, he's a lovely guy. Very, very nice guy. And both of them, Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison. They're very gentle people and very honest and true and with a lot of integrity, and And John, they were both sort of a little bit cheeky at times. John especially, because sometimes if I was out the front of Roy's place and it was right on the corner and it was all dirt, and he'd come in his caddy, and as soon as he'd see me up near the gate there, he'd step on the gas, come around the corner, and all the dust had come up and stones, and so I'd be smothered in dust, and he'd call back, gotcha, you know.
He really was a hellraiser, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. But a lovely guy, yeah.
Is there anyone you wish you could have worked with that you didn't? I mean, you've obviously come in contact with some pretty amazing, iconic people over the years.
I don't know. I suppose the only person that I don't know about work with, because he would have blown me into the sandpit, and that would be Elvis, I suppose, you know. But no one really got to work with him except in the very, very early stages when he was a support act, you know. But I never got to meet him. I was very close. I was invited to a party, and I couldn't get out of the jobs that I was at. I was in Illinois at the time, and I couldn't get down to Memphis, so I missed out, you know.
I know we've talked a lot about America, Lonnie, but how does it make you feel when guys like, you know, Billy Thorpe and Bobby Lloyd, you know, say that you inspired them in their music, Australian artists?
Yeah, well, that's really nice to hear that, because you feel that it wasn't all for nothing. Back in those days, of course, we didn't know that. We were just doing what we did. So it was quite a shock to me many years later when all these guys said, you know, thank you, and you were the first record we ever bought, and the first person we saw on a show, and whatever. It's nice to hear, but I guess in a way it's a responsibility. But when you know it's someone like Thorpe or any of these guys, Normie Rowe or any of these guys, you know that they went to the top, and so if I inspired them just one tiny little bit, it obviously worked.
And you're still making music today, Lonnie. Well done. You've got a new record out, so all the best with it. And really nice to talk to you today, mate.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
For more information on where you can catch Lonnie Lee performing, just please head over to the Daily Edition website.
Well, today is our favourite day of the week. Not only is it the start of the weekend, it's also Flashback Friday.
And during his 5-decade career, Lonnie Lee worked with some of the biggest names in rock music and pioneered the Rockabilly movement in Australia.
Well, it's the one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready. Now go, go, go.
In the 1950s, rock and roll was born.
Well, you can do anything but the help of my blue suede shoe.
And what followed was a golden period in music. The Rockabilly era was brought to life by the smooth vocals of Elvis Presley.
You still can find for broken-hearted lovers.
And Johnny Cash's deep, emotional ballads.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Australia's answer to the Rockabilly movement came in the form of Lonnie Lee.
Ain't it so, ain't it so, well, I'm in love with you.
The performer shot to fame in the 60s after singing Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel on radio. Lonnie went on to produce 8 hit singles, including Ain't It So and I Found a New Love. He's also collaborated with Roy Orbison and penned songs for Cher.
I found a new love.
With an impressive career spanning more than 5 decades, Lonnie is still rocking his way around Australia. And Lonnie Lee joins us now. Welcome to the show, Lonnie.
Thank you, Matt.
How was it for you seeing that old vision?
Oh, it's so funny. It really is, you know. And yet, strangely enough, I remember the times. You know, I can actually remember being there doing all that stuff.
What was it like during that era?
Oh, it was exciting. The main thing was it was exciting because it was all new, and it wasn't just new for us. It was new for the audiences. You know, we'd go out, and if we were on tour, and we'd go into the town, the girls and that would run out of the shops, leave their offices, and chase us down the street and write their names all over our cars with lipstick. The whole thing was just so exciting.
Oh, wow.
That happens to me some days.
Oh, does it, Matt?
I'm not going to tell you where my car is.
You talk about touring, and you did so with stars like Jerry Lee Lewis. But there was a story with the Jerry Lee Lewis about a bit of a falling out. What happened?
Well, actually, in those days, the big stars didn't have suites and all that like they have now. Everything was all together. So on this particular tour, I and Jerry Lee Lewis shared a room on the different places. And we shared the same seat when we were travelling in the bus or whatever. So in this particular time, we were in a bus, and he was next to me here, and he said, we're going through the country. And he said, Lonnie, he said, what do you think of the country? I said, oh, I just absolutely love it. I'm from the country. He said, yeah. He said, I'm from Memphis as well. He said, I just bought 13 acres. I said, oh, that's really wonderful. And he said, a couple of Cadillacs I just got as well. And I thought, oh, that's really tremendous. And he said, what about you? Have you been out to the country? I said, yeah, I'm from the country also. My parents have a sheep station. And he said, oh, really? How big is it? And I said, 7,000 acres. And he died. He got up out of the chair, nearly knocked his head off on the thing there and said, you F, and I mean, really went off his face. Because 13 acres to him, I guess it was as if I was putting him down, saying 7,000 acres. Anyway, we made up later on, and he paid me back because the deal was that we shared a room, and whoever woke up first would wake the other one up so we could catch the plane. I didn't wake up. He woke up, left me there. He caught the plane. I missed the plane, and so I didn't miss the next show, but I got there. But when I got in, he said, I got you.
He did get you.
And he did get me, yeah.
You've written some songs with some big stars, including Roy Orbison. How did that come about?
Well, I went to Nashville to try and see if my songs were going to be successful, because it's, you know, very, very difficult business, especially then. And this guy heard my songs and he said, look, I think I'll send you to a guy who we feel is going to take Nashville from country, traditional country, into pop music, and because the sales of traditional country are going down. So his name was Don Gant. So he said he's the general manager of Acuff Music. So anyway, he sent me to Don. Don listened to a few of my songs, about 5 or 6, and he said, wow, he said, I could hear gold in your songs. And of course, to a songwriter, you think, what, are you kidding? This is my first meeting, you know. And he said, have you ever written with anybody? And I said, no, I haven't. He said, would you like to? I said, I guess so. It depends if the chemistry and whatever. He said, okay, I've got something in mind, because your songs are really international, and I know an international writer as well. I'll call you tomorrow. Anyway, he called me tomorrow and he said, how would you like to write with Roy Orbison? Of course, I thought, oh, you're joking. He said, no, I'm serious. We've checked everything out. It's right. So he's arranged a meeting for Roy and I. So we had this meeting that ended up us being locked in the boardroom for 11 hours. But we got together for quite a number of
So many stories, and you've also lived next door to Johnny Cash. I mean, the stories just keep coming. You're touring now, though.
Yes, we're going all over the place. We're going right through Queensland. We go to the Tallangatta, to say it right, 50s Festival next weekend, and we're all over the place. That's just wonderful. I'm just so blessed to do what I'm doing, you know.
And still to be doing it.
Yeah, with my band. I got my own band, who are also my great friends, and so it's really, really wonderful. I am just so blessed, and I do feel sorry for some of these new guys coming along. You know, X Factors and all those different shows. There's not the future for them that I've been lucky enough to have, and people like my peers, you know, have had.
Oh, there may be. Is it
60 years.
One Direct, yeah.
We'll have to wait.
We'll see how One Direction is going in 60
I'll be 150.
Thank you, Lonnie. So nice to take that trip down memory lane with you. You can catch Lonnie Lee on tour. For all the details, head to our website.